I think I've gotten everything to work. We're going to go through this question by question. Um, Starting with question 1. Hello. Doing some revision today for topic 2. Here are the questions. I draw a diagram of a CPU which includes ALU, CU, and registers. And then also, based on the above diagram, explain how data moves through the CPU. So, something that's interesting is that it starts at the program counter, which is actually a part. Oh, you can't see my mouse. Oh, you can. There you go. Program counter, which is a part of the CPU. It's of the CU, the control unit. The program counter is actually a register inside of the program. Oh my god. The program counter is inside of the control unit, and it actually has the address for which instructions need to be fetched, and it sends these instructions to the memory address register, which then finds the address in the main memory and brings it back to the memory data register. This memory data register stores it and sends it to the control unit. So in the control unit, it's kind of the central part which controls all these pieces all together, and at this point, it's fetched the information, and it needs to decode it. And well, first the instruction register, which is another register, part of the CU, starts to decode all the information, all the instructions, all the data that it gets from the main memory will be decoded at this point. That's the second step. I'll talk about that in more detail later. And then obviously it sends the if necessary, it sends the address for the next piece of information to the program counter to then start the cycle again. Once the information has been decoded, it sends it to the ALU, or the algorithmic logic unit. Here this does kind of everything. This is the actual part of the processor that does that executes the instructions, that provides the logic, the calculations, anything arithmetic. It's insanely good at, and stores the data or the most recent calculation in the accumulator, which is its own little register, and then it gives it back to sends it back to the RAM, as well as sends any more instructions it might need directly to the memory address register to then find more information. Second question, sorry. What is your definition of primary memory and cache memory? Right, so primary memory, it's like the main memory of the computer. It's directly accessible by the CPU. It's usually RAM. It includes RAM, but this is where the data or instructions are stored for and quickly accessible during processes. And cache memory is it's a lot smaller. It is faster because it's closer, as it's directly inside the CPU. It stores. We can see here it stores like the accumulator. It stores recently used information or frequently used information or data, and it's kind of the tiny amounts of data or that are commonly used data that kind of the mix between main memory and secondary memory. Sorry, main memory and the CPU. So information stops there, and then goes there as well. And then if directly needed, you can check it again, or it'll do the next thing, and then it won't have it. Or it's faster, but it's much smaller, much more expensive to get large amounts. I've lost the questions. The next question is, explain the machine instruction cycle. Alright, so I didn't want to touch up too much on this when we were talking about the CPU, but there's around 3-4 steps in the machine instruction cycle. There is the fetch step or whatever. It's this is where it just gets the information that it needs for either doing its next step or to get the data that it needs to do the current process, and it gets it from the memory. Then it's decoded, like we talked about in the control unit. It's decoded so that the CPU can actually understand, or the ALU can understand the information that's being given to it. And then, like we said, the ALU will execute it. It executes the calculations, like all the operations, logic, arithmetic, anything like that. And then it's stored back in the registers, the main memory, and even secondary memory afterwards. Question 5. What does a operating system do? So it manages hardware and software of a system. It allows for like the communication between the two. It adds like as a middle ground for the user, the software and the hardware. It manages resources. It provides a UI, a user interface. Like there's two types. There's GUI, which is graphical user interface, and a CLI, which is command line interface. GUI is most commonly used, and it's much more user friendly and nicer to look at, while command line can be more efficient and more accurate in what you want it to do, but it is much more difficult and much less practical in the general sense. Depending on what you do, it's usually also in charge of permissions and like system security and all that. That's like the main role of the operating OS, the operating system. Question 6. If you were advising someone who was buying a computer for the first time and they ask you what software can they get, what does it do, what basic summary of software, and what they would would you give? Okay. We spoke about this in class today. There is the word processor for text documents, usually keyboard inputted. You can edit it, create new, change fonts. It's a very common one, and usually all systems have at least a very basic version of one. Web browsers are also kind of a given in most modern systems. They allow users. It acts as a GUI for users to navigate the internet. That's about it. It allows you to research. It also holds your history usually, so you can check old searches, stuff like that. Quite useful. Then there's system software like antivirus software, which protects the computer from viruses, from malware. Tries to keep all of your data private and yours without being able to be stolen. There's also spreadsheets, which is kind of like the word processor, but in a row and column format for numerical data usually, and it performs calculations, or more modern ones perform calculations, and it's easier to manage large data sets in this way because they act as like a list or an array. And then there's like media players, so for audio, video files, music, movies, anything you want. You need kind of a few of these basic features for where most modern systems have these basic softwares. Question 7 is, how is data other than numbers, like pictures, sound, and letters, represented or stored on a computer? Non-numeric data, so it's like images, sound, so like music, files, so pictures and music, stuff like that. They're represented as non-numeric, so also text, represented with pixels, characters, and audio waveforms, respectively for the three different types. Computers store these as binary, or so which can be easily interpreted as each character or kind of element has its own unique binary code that computers understand. Question 8. Okay, so this is this is this one. One moment.